Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Story Time with Dianne Coke. Today's story is Disney Zootopia. Hustle Up. Long before he met Judy Hopps, Nick Wilde was a street smart fox. But one day Nick placed a bet against Mr. Big and lost. You have 6 hours to get me the money you owe, Nicky. Otherwise, Mr. Biz gazed upon a deep pit of ice. You're iced. Nick was hurrying downtown when he spotted a little old bat trying to park her huge van. If only Nick could get that van, he could sell it to pay Mr. Big. Nick approached her and offered to carry her groceries to her apartment. He told her he worked for Furless Foxes, a charity that provided fur implants for the mange afflicted. Why don't you donate the van to my charity, take the tax credit, and buy something more your size? She agreed and handed over the keys. His plan had worked. But when he got to the van, his worst enemy, Finnick, had already hot-wired it and was behind the wheel driving off. Lately, every time he turned around, Finnick was there. If there was one hustler in all of Zootopia Nick wished would go away, it was Finnick. Au revoir, bug brain, he said in his deep, gravelly voice. Then he zoomed away. But Nick shook it off. He had plenty of great ideas. In fact, I have more great ideas in one day than Finnick will have in his whole life, Nick thought. Nick would get the money some other way. When he saw Big Al's fine cars, his eyes lit up. He grabbed a discarded trench coat off a bus bench and slipped it on. Nick entered the dealership and wandered toward the mouse cars. He stuffed some of the tiny vehicles into his pockets and sauntered out. Nick whistled as he headed toward Little Rodentia. Typically, he didn't like the grab-and-go technique, but sometimes hustlers had to improvise. This was one of those times. He set a blue convertible car down for a mouse to check out. And it's yours for $1,000. I have the same model for $950, came a gruff voice from the other end of the alley. It was Finnick. The mouse headed towards Nick's rival. $900, Nick said, narrowing his eyes at Finnick. $700, said Finnick. You can have this one for $600 and it runs like a dream, said Nick. $200, shouted Finnick, plus a free wash. $175 final, Nick countered. $0, said Finnick, rolling the car toward the mouse. Yes, the mouse said. He jumped in and took off. Suddenly, a stretch limo pulled up and 2 polar bears stepped out. Then they opened a door to reveal Mr. Big. Time's up, he said. I'm here to collect what you both owe me. Finnick owes Mr. Big too, Nick thought. But neither Finnick nor Nick had the money. Ice him, Mr. Big ordered. As the polar bears reached for the 2 hustlers, Nick had an idea. Mr. Big, he said. Sir, Honorable One, give us until sundown. You know I can't do that, Nicky. We'll double the money we owe, said Nick, crossing his arms with confidence. Finnick looked at Nick confused, while Mr. Big considered the offer. Okay, Mr. Big said. I'll see you at sundown And you'd better have it or it's ice town for you both. Nick nodded. Yup, I know. We'll have it. Mr. Big held out his hand. Nick and Finnick eyed each other before they took turns kissing his little ring. After the tiny crime lord had left, Nick and Finnick had to get to work, and Nick already had a plan. He instructed Finnick to drive to a large recycling bin to collect water bottles. What? The garbage? Asked Finnick. It's not garbage, said Nick. It's opportunity. With my ideas and your size, the money will roll in. Once the van was full of bottles, they headed for the rainforest district. Nick and Finnick stood the bottles up and used the rainwater to fill them. When the bottles were full, they got back into the van. All right, said Nick. It's money time. Next stop, Sahara Square. When they arrived at Sahara Square, Finnick disconnected a pipe on a water fountain. This is busted, said a cub, trying to get a drink. Fresh, cold, natural water, called Nick, holding up a bottle. We'll just buy some from this nice fox and his little boy, the cub's mother said. Finnick forced a pained smile when Nick patted him on the head as Finnick accepted payment for the water. Nick and Finnick sold water bottles all afternoon. When they had only a few left, Finnick went to get the van. But Finnick never came back. Nick waited and waited. Where had Finnick gone? Had the van been towed? Had Finnick been hauled off to jail? And he had the money with him. Nick walked off. When I find him, I'm going to ice him myself, Nick thought. After an hour, Nick finally realized Finnick wasn't coming back. Nick started feeling nervous. He knew Mr. Big would be expecting his money at sundown. Suddenly, Finnick pulled up. Where have you? Nick started, but then he noticed the painting on the side of the van. If we're going to work together, we need a stylish vehicle. Work together? Huh? Said Nick. I knew you liked me. Back in Tundra Town, Nick and Finnick handed over the cash to Mr. Big and left as fast as they could. So, what are we doing tomorrow? Finnick asked as they sped through the streets of downtown. I have an idea, and it's not even really that illegal, Nick said. Finnick shrugged, turned up his French rap music, and put the pedal to the metal. Back at home, Nick went for a stroll. Tires screeched as a car zoomed by him. It was the old bat in a fancy new car. Thanks for the advice, she said to Nick. You were right. A car more my size does suit me. Nick smiled as he watched her race off. His hustle had worked, and with Finnick as his partner, even more opportunities awaited him. The end.